Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I wanted to come on and do a little short video on how to help your kids after a natural disaster and more specifically after a hurricane. In the Tampa Bay area, we've just been hit with two hurricanes and and there's been a lot of tragedy and devastation and trauma. And there's also been a lot of people coming together and creating community and connection, which that part has been really beautiful to see and to witness. But I wanted to talk about just how to help your kids at any age kind of pull through this. And obviously, at different developmental stages, you're going to talk about these things in a different way. But I do think it's important to really start addressing some of the mental health concerns that could be happening with your kids. So first, I just want to say it's really important as you help your kids through, processing and rebuilding after a hurricane. It's also important to look at how you're helping yourself. Identifying how you cope with change, how you handle or process anxiety, how you talk about grief, facing some of your own fears, really getting a handle of how are you doing, because you don't want to put your own stuff on your children, which sometimes when we're really anxious and we're watching the news, seeing where's this hurricane coming, or after when we're looking at all the devastation, we're not intentionally trying to bring them into that kind of trauma, but if we're doing it right in front of them, they're hearing it and they're seeing it, and it increases or intensifies their own anxiety or fears around what's happened. So I'm not saying you can't talk at all about what's going on, but just, kind of how are you taking care of yourself? It's like, that you got to put your oxygen mask on first before you put your kids on in an airplane. So first, I just want to say, again, depending on the age of your children, they might not even know or understand like what a hurricane is or what's just happened. So sometimes you want to talk a little bit about what it is and what's happened. And then you want to talk about how you cope with change and uncertainty. And it's important to kind of, you don't want to give your kids all the answers, but you want to kind of ask them, and you can give examples of things that they've done in the past when something has changed, and what they did that was helpful. But you also want to create normal routines for your kids. In our community, we've lost our one of our schools. Well, we've lost a couple of schools that it's going to take some time to rebuild. And so some kids are not able to go back to their school, but how can you create kind of normal routines for them, and kind of set up a plan where it feels like they're going back to something that they know and that's familiar, whether it's school, it's after school activities, things like that. So I do think that that's important as well. um, you want to limit the media and social media for your children. Hopefully, not very many kids under the age of, 14 or 16 have social media, but I know that a lot of them do. Please get them off. Reliving all the devastation that's around them only can re traumatize them, and it just takes them through the experience and they're not able to get out of it. So please, limit the amount of social media that they're on as well as the news that you may be watching. Also staying active and exercising, whether you're going on walks as a family or going to the gym, or just doing things that helps your body move, that actually helps process emotions in a way where you don't have to just sit and talk about them. And creating family rituals and routines, I think, are really important to help kids, again, come together as a family. And even if it's, you know, um, you're staying in a new Airbnb or you're looking for a long-term rental, how can you create like maybe a family dinner, or, something that lets your kids know that you're still coming together, and even though you don't have the familiarity of your home anymore, you're still a family. Like, I don't know if any of you guys watch Marvel movies, but in Thor Ragnarok, he says there's a quote at the end, Asgard's not a place, it's a people. So your home is, is the people that's in your home, not necessarily a structure. And that's one of the things that we've learned, or that I'm noticing, that people coming together, like our stuff, our memento, like things that are really important, they're out on the lawn and they're destroyed. And that's devastating. However, what I've noticed is people coming together and supporting one another and helping them through it. And it's important for kids to see that too, how we come together as a community. So, going back to how to help your kids, I think another thing to do, besides the things that I've already said, creating normal routines, helping your kids identify how they can cope with change in healthy ways, staying active, creating family routines, also creating like a family gratitude. What are some things that we're grateful for? That kind of helps kids as well. Another really important thing is to start to identify and validate your kids' feelings. Now, depending on the age of your kid, you might need to name the feeling for them. And this is where I like Dr. Gottman's emotion coaching, where he talks about um, asking your kids, how are you doing or what are you noticing? You're not giving them the answer, but if they need help, kind of if they're just saying, oh, I'm feeling so like I can't even describe it, you're gonna kind of, are you feeling frustrated? Are you feeling disappointed? Are you feeling helpless? You might need to give them the words. But then the other part of emotion coaching is to validate how they feel. You want to validate and you really want to listen. You don't just want to give them an answer and then brush them off. You want to sit in a space where they can share their feelings, no matter how big or how small they are. And you're just going to empathize and validate. And once that's done, then we go into helping them problem solve, or just asking, what are some ways that you want to cope with these emotions? The emotions that we're all feeling, well, I don't want to speak for everyone, but some common emotions that we're all feeling is fears, grief, worry, anxiousness, anger, loss of control, feeling helpless or powerless. Those are just a few. And so you want to help you kind of identify how your kids are feeling, and then what do they want to do? And in a natural disaster, it's also, especially around fears and worries, it's it's helping them. And this is where you might have to step in a little bit more, but just making sure that you're telling them that they're safe now, that their basic needs are being met, and then also creating maybe a disaster preparedness kit, or just how you want to storm prep. For example, here we went from one storm right to another. And so there was a lot more anxiety about, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now? And I think sometimes if kids, if we can kind of create a plan, it helps lessen the fear or worry, because we don't want to lie to kids to say, like, oh, hurricane's not going to happen again, because we know that's not true. And so we want to focus on, okay, what's in our control here? Let's create a plan even right after a storm, um, that helps them give like a sense of like, okay, we know what we're going to do as a family if another hurricane comes again. And remember, guys, take it day by day, especially, if you have lost your home or if you're not going to school. It just, when things are so disrupted, it's really important to just say, like, okay, let's take things day by day. I know even for myself, I have to remind myself of that. It's easy to get overwhelmed with all the things that we have to do, or the things that are out of our control, or, even getting overwhelmed with the loss, or feeling angry. So I think it's important, just like, okay, let's take one thing at a time, one day at a time. How are our basic needs being met? And don't be afraid to ask for help, and it's okay to communicate that to your kids as well, especially if they see you struggling. The older kids, like teenagers, they might not want to talk about how they feel if they think that that might help you. So you want to make sure you tell them, like, hey, let's communicate here. Let's talk about what's going on, and then they're not responsible for you as an adult, um, and that you're there for them and just to listen. So I do think that that is really important. And and then, lastly, I think it's important to identify what are some healthy distractions. So daily, how are we coping with even like intrusive thoughts, which you're going to have as the adult, but also your kids are going to have, all the what ifs. And so there's a common technique that I even talk about in my practice, not necessarily hurricane related, but it's important. It's a stop sign technique. If you start to have all these racing thoughts or ruminating thoughts, or these intrusive thoughts about all the what ifs and fears, imagine a stop sign, take a deep breath, and then ask yourself some questions. Put yourself in a peaceful place, um, or just say, okay, what is my control, what can I do right now? And those are some things that can help kind of stop or at least slow down the racing thoughts. Deep belly breathing, having a plan of what are some relaxation tips that can be helpful. You can identify those as a family. If you have young small kids, I always do this, like I call it the blowing up a balloon, where you pretend like you're blowing up a balloon. You get really big and then you blow out all the air, and that's just deep belly breathing. So I think those are important as well. Make sure you tell your kids no feeling, any feeling that they're feeling right now, that it's not wrong. Feelings are feelings, and it's important to talk through them and to identify them. So, I think these are just a few things that I think can be helpful. And as you know, part of this is creating and developing resiliency, how we pick ourselves up when we've fallen down. And so, in creating these things, identifying and focusing on feelings, what are some healthy distractions? Relaxation techniques, creating a family gratitude and family rituals, creating some sense of normalcy for your kids. Those are all things that can help when we've just been through a natural disaster. So I think, you know, that is something besides those things. It's You're also showing them that yes, when everything has, kind of been destroyed, we are still going to come together as a family and we're going to work through it and we're going to take it day by day and we're going to connect. Oh, one last thing, especially if you have older kids or even younger kids, it is helpful too if you're in a place where you're able to help others. As I was doing some research for this YouTube, that's one of the things that they pointed out is that once you are in a place where you can help others, it actually helps you feel better if you can come together and participate in that community and connection. So that's the last thing. All right, guys. If you are in the Tampa Bay area and you're looking through this, just know that my heart is with you as well, and we're gonna get through this. Hug your kids. Be thankful that you um, are alive and that you have your family. And for those of you that have lost someone, I'm so very sorry. Um, for your loss. It's significant tragedy that's hit. Again, it has been a blessing, and it's something that's really helped me through this is to see how our community has come together and we're helping each other. All right, guys, hang in there. And if you have your own strategies that has helped you cope with the storm, please feel free to comment and let me know. Take care of yourselves.